We are live. We are live. And I am so excited about today's event because I am going to be joined by two of my very good girlfriends, Miss Peppermint and the star of Monica, which is already getting Oscar buzz, the one and only Trace Lysette. And we are going to be talking about Monica today. And a special note that we have gotten permission from SAG-AFTRA to talk about this film. And special note for all of the Academy, Motion Picture Academy members who might be watching, Monica is available on the Motion Picture Academy website now to stream. It's one of the first films that has been uploaded to the Academy's website for Oscar consideration. So Academy members check it out. And Monica is also available to stream wherever you stream your films. And I already have some requests, but before I bring on Peppermint and Trace, I want to read a little something about the movie Monica. So, Slash Film wrote about Monica, naming it one of the best films of 2023 so far, and Slash wrote, if there were any justice in the world, Trace Lysette would be at the front of every awards contention conversation. I'm going to repeat that. If there were any justice in the world, Lysette would be at the front of every awards contention conversation, wrote Slash Film magazine. And this little excerpt from May Rude's review of Monica from Out magazine really deeply moved me. It's so long. But May Rude wrote, Lysette really shows off her skills as a performer here, exerting total control over her acting tools. After a career of mostly supporting roles in projects like Transparent, Hustlers, and Drunk History, Monica finally gives Lysette space to spread her wings, and she soars. Mayrude continues, Monica is a beautiful and deeply affecting film, and one that will leave you thinking for weeks. Buoyed by meticulous directing and cinematography, Lysette is the clear standout of the movie, delivering a performance that should land her firmly in the awards season conversation and on the list of every casting director in Hollywood. Perhaps even an Oscar nomination is in her future. And I just love that. Love that. I'm gonna just try to have Peppermint and Trace join me right now for this really special conversation. And I have to tell you, I rewatched Monica. Request to join. I'm not seeing my girls. I rewatched Monica this morning and I just wept. It is a beautiful, beautiful film. Trace and Peppermint, where are you girls? Request. Where are the requests? I'm looking for you. Request to join. I don't see them. I don't see them. Oh, Instagram. Girl. Meta, Mark Zuckerberg. Oh my God. Okay, boom. There you are. Where are you, Peppermint? Where are you, girl? Where you at? Where you at? Okay, Trace is with us. I'm trying to get Peppermint on in this conversation, but I can't find her. Let's Trace. How you doing, girl?
Hey, girl. Oh, my head's cut off. Now I gotta readjust. Hold on 1 second. Okay. I thought I was prepared.
How are you feeling, girl?
I'm all right. Thank you for those quotes. That was
It was.
when I listen.
How do you feel hearing that?
Well, especially when May Rude is a trans journalist, the way she just goes in and shows the love. It's like I read a couple of the reviews from trans journalists in particular, and it's crazy how much deeper the layers are and how much, how affected they are. And it's just, it makes me emotional. It's been a long road. So it's nice to kind of like feel the love finally. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm always like teetering on that line of like, well, will this cross over? Will we get in the conversation? Are we in the conversation? What does that even look like? what does a just world even look like? I'm always thinking about those things.
Yeah.
You know, that's what comes up for me. It's like this duality of like, God, that feels good, but like, will it be enough that one of us said it? You know, I mean, Variety has said it too, so that's nice. And I don't know. I mean, it's a lot to think about. I know the work is special, and that's what's most important. And hopefully, it leads to more work, because at the end of the day, that's the win for me. But we all know that awards are currency and safety, especially when you come from marginalized communities. It's so much bigger than just a pat on the back. It's survival for us.
It's survival, it's legitimacy. Just thinking about it's funny because I've been nominated for 4 Emmys, acting Emmys, and I won an Emmy for producing, and it definitely has helped. But I think about a lot of my colleagues. I ran into should I say name names? I ran into like an acting colleague at a party. I won't say their name, and he recently won his first Emmy, and he's been working forever, and he is before the strike was booked and busy with acting work. I'm so blessed that I do a lot of different things, so I get to be busy not just with acting, but when I look at his career compared to mine, and it's not always cool to compare. He's doing way more acting work than I am, and that's just, I'm grateful for my life and I'm not complaining, but it's just different for us as trans actors and artists. And when I was doing preparation for this, I was reading different reviews as well, and the reviews from trans journalists really, it's like they really got it, and it really spoke to
And
how important it is to have criticism from trans journalists, to have trans journalists seeing the films and having opportunities to write about them. We should say that 98% from the audience on Rotten Tomatoes for Monica. I want to see if Peppermint has come up and through here. Has she texted me? What's going on with her? She could, girl, some technical thing could be happening. But I want to take you back, while we're waiting for Peppermint, I want to take you back to about a year ago at the Venice Film Festival, where Monica premiered. Monica was the first film with a transgender lead to be in competition at the Venice Film Festival a year ago, and you got a standing ovation that lasted 17 minutes.
11 and a half.
No, excuse me, 11 and a half minutes. 11 and a half minutes. Can you take us back to?
It was so long time.
It feels like it was a year ago. It was really right about a year ago. Can you take us back to being at the Venice Film Festival? The movie ends. Johnny's with you. Can you take us back to that moment?
Yeah, actually, I saw Johnny pop in here. Maybe we should rotate him in it if he's down.
That would be good. Let's see.
Because he probably has his own version of that.
Okay, I see Peppermint now. Boom, and I see Johnny. Okay, girl, let's just have it. I've invited Johnny and Peppermint, but what do you remember about that?
What I remember, again, the duality of like riding up on the boat and seeing these giant billboards for, well, I don't know if we're allowed to name productions because of the strike. So
We're not.
excellent movie, big movies that came out last year. It's just riding up and seeing these huge billboards. Hey, Pep. And, there's not a Monica in sight. So we were just like, oh, Lord, please let people care about the film. And they did. I mean, they really did. We landed at Venezia L cover the day after Timothy Chalamet. The buzz started early, and the standing ovation, it just felt surreal, because 1,000+ people clapping for you, staring at you for 11 minutes changes you. It changes you for life. And it told me, oh, bitch, you are worthy. You've done the work. You deserve to be here. People are affected. People feel your soul. They feel what you've been through. They feel your journey. They know that you've worked on your craft and that you have fought tooth and nail to get here, and that the story is important. And what I was left with was okay, again, that duality of what does this mean? Do I get to feel safe? I was having flashbacks, like to parts of my life when I just did not feel as loved and safe, or validated as an artist. And so I just went to the bathroom and cried and tried to process everything. And thank God, Johnny, you were there for me. You probably have your own recollection.
Johnny, what was your experience at that moment?
Well,
Hey,
wait,
Pep. Johnny,
I
can you
want to
talk
ask,
to so what?
I do, Trace, I mean, I felt every word you just said, and sorry I'm late, everybody, but one thing that I think that some people may not understand, especially people who aren't trans, and I'm assuming that there's people that we want to see this film who aren't trans. Can you talk a little bit more about what you mean when you say I felt safe? Because for some people that just means I wasn't going to get beaten up by or hit by a shark or a car, you know, like whatever. So like, what does that mean for you finally feeling safe?
Well, I think it was like, okay, does this mean I'm safe now? Meaning, will this translate to some sort of success for me? And by success, I'm consistent work, Hollywood, um, not always having to pinch pennies between gigs or lose my insurance 2 times in the last 5 years, which is very real for me. Even being on TV for 10 years now, and um, I was thinking about my actor journey, and it really started when I was like 5 or 6 years old, when I was the lead in the elementary school play, Melvin the Man, and I played Melvin, and bitch, now I'm Monica. So it's like, where did it go? Like, at some point,
From Melvin to Monica, that's a
Melvin and
reality
Monica,
show.
honey. Yeah.
at some point, the love and the safety and the artistry got lost. Adolescence got real hard. When my flaming queen side came out and things got real, the bullying, I won't go down all my trauma, but like at some point, you know, I didn't get nurtured in the same way that some cis actors get nurtured with a two-parent household and money or access. um, Being a teenage drag queen was my expression of theater, having a fake ID, performing in clubs of Dayton, Ohio, and Columbus, with the queens, with the trans women who worked in the context of drag, who reared me, who taught me how to move an audience, shake a room. Ballroom is the same thing. It was all an extension of theater. It was my Juilliard. It was my Yale. And then, of course, I did hone my actor training later on at acting studios, bounce around all over New York. I had 3 really important teachers, but again, it was like it was always just living gig to gig, and the validation was again gig to gig, and I'd never felt a room this large um, acknowledge me in a way that was like, wow, you did something here, you connected with us. And so when I say feeling safe, it was more like a question. It was more like, will this help me feel safe?
And what I hear is the literal health insurance, job stability, things that we're striking about now. I mean, I remember that when you
Right.
lost couple of times you lost your health insurance, you were like, "Girl, I don't have my health insurance. I don't know what I'm going to do." So this is a huge reason why we're on strike right now. Just literally job security, safety in terms of being able to survive. That kind of safety is what I heard. Is that right, Trace?
Oh yeah.
Johnny, can you talk about Venice Film Festival last year, being there with her, and how you doing, Johnny? You look good.
Hey,
I'm good. I feel it was one. There's always those moments in your life where you have like a full circle, and from the moment I met Trace in acting class to that moment where you're on this stage really because you're in the audience, but you're what everyone's looking at. It felt like such a full circle moment going from, the fold out chairs in Brad's class with, the stage that we all set up and just bare bonesing it to one of the biggest stages in the world for artistry. It just felt so right. And it felt correct to see Trace get the love from that audience. you know, I was in tears because, as you both know, like, there's the outside of what people see, you know, whether it's like what people assume from what they watch on TV or what they see on the red carpet. But then there's the other side, which is the truth and the work and the struggle. And so knowing all of those things, but then watching Trace in her Valentino gown and, you know, in this room of, like, you know, the most uppity, you know, like, it just, not, you know, not in a bad way, but it was just so that what you experience, what you think, like, oh, this is Hollywood, this is the glitz and the glamour, but knowing the truth of what it took to get to that point, it really was just one of the, I will never forget it as long as I live, because it felt so validating for her as her friend to say, yes, you deserve all of that. And, you know, it was just beautiful. I mean, I helped her put the audition on tape for Monica, and, you know, in 2017, and this was, you know, last year. So it was just so moving to see. And when people would stop her in the street, it was just, you know, I was happy to be there to be like, you know, the person from home, the person, not all these new people that were just, you know, getting to know her. So, and yeah, it was just really, really special to be a part of.
Can you Trace, Peppermint, let's let Peppermint say something, but I just want to tell people a little bit about Monica, the story, for the people who don't know what the film is about, and tell a little bit about the story. But did you want to say something, Pep, before we have Trace do that for us?
Yeah, I just wanted, there's two things I kind of wanted to speak to. And one of the things that I find difficult to articulate, besides just the trans experience to people, which is something that we oftentimes want to communicate, especially as storytellers, is for people who aren't even in the acting world, because there's our struggle, what we want to talk about, the things we want to do, the things, our goals and stuff we want to achieve, that we can communicate to other actors, that they'll understand it in a way. And then there's people outside of Hollywood, and this whole, the strike really opens up this conversation right now. And I was thinking back to my experience, you know, I think a lot of people have heard, you know, actors have a hard time. And whether you're trans, cis, however you identify, if you're choosing acting as a career, you're probably going to be not working in between jobs. You're probably going to be getting these residual checks that are 1 penny. We're seeing that all over the place, right? That's why the whole industry is striking as far as SAG-AFTRA is concerned. And I remember hearing, you know, my teacher in acting college said that to the whole room. And that's something, you know, I don't think he knew he was talking to anybody trans in the room, and I wasn't out as trans at the time. And so that's something that we all accepted. But then on top of that, more than one of my teachers told me, you know, you're great, this is all good, but there's no work for you in Hollywood. There's no work for you in Broadway. You will never work. You are not going to work. So we're just basically taking your money. They didn't say that, but they were like, you're not going to work. Because what they have to do is they have to give you, you know, acting class. You all know this, but some people may not know. You do scenes and they give you stuff, and they could never find anything for me to do that made sense, that I was comfortable with. And I came out as trans during that time, and I was obviously very queer. And they weren't able to find anything for me in my queerness, my transness, any of that stuff. They had a hard time finding something for my blackness. And so, you know, that's really difficult to, I think, articulate to people. And what I fear with regards to the strike, well, I don't want to say what I fear with the strike, the importance of telling these diverse stories and telling these stories about transness. When we hear Trace talk about not being able to work in between and sort of feeling safe aspect of it, it's more than just what all other actors experience, which is something you're experiencing too, but it's multiplied. I think it's a little bit more intense for those of us who are the trans experience, who are in this industry. You know, it was only a few years ago that we were having conversations about whether or not a transgender person deserved to play a role that was trans. That was just a handful of years ago, and I remember seeing some very spirited conversations online with some other folks, and they were saying stuff like, oh, you know, if it's just acting, let this person do it, you know. Oh, well, if you're trans and you want to act, just make your own thing and shut up about, like, all this stuff. And this is what we're up against, right? And so I just wanted to kind of put that out there and sort of contextualize that. But most importantly, as Laverne was saying, with the story, for those of it, for people living in Iraq who haven't seen this movie, Monica, let's talk a little bit about the story of it.
Do you want to tell us a little bit, Trace, about how would you describe Monica? It's such a subtle, I want to say it's such a subtle, nuanced film with sparse dialogue, and it's just, I rewatched it today, and it just hits you in your gut. Can you just tell the folks who don't know a little bit about the story, how you would describe the story of Monica, Trace?
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert. Hopefully everybody that's in here has seen it. If not, I'm going to go in. It's the story of an estranged trans woman who goes back home after 20 years to try to reconnect with her family. She was kicked out as a teen. And her mother is struggling with her health and brain surgery and memory loss, and does not recognize Monica. It's this story of forgiveness and reconnection and what we do with the time we have left. The thing I love most about it is that this is a trans woman who has lived a life. It's not a transition story. It's not about sensationalizing any of that, like, you know, the body stuff. There's one scene where, you know, you see me injecting some estrogen into my leg, but as far as that, there's no, you know, beyond that, there's really no even mention of trans anything. Because I think it would be insulting to the audience, and I think that, you know, it trusts that the audience is as smart as we think they are. That's one other thing I love about this film, is that there's nothing that's spoon-fed. Yeah, I don't know. It was really a labor of love. It was super low budget, and one of the things we keep kind of running into now is just that is as like, you know, the money that we are up against and the playing field, and you know, having to crowdfund for a publicist, and it's just every piece of the way it's been a labor of love. I got the script in December of 2016, so that's how long indie film takes, and that's not because this is a trans story. That's pretty typical for indie film. I did hear it was a fight to get funding. Andrea told me it was a fight to get funding, even though this was his third film and it should arguably be easier. It was still tough to get funded, and he told me that he thinks that some of that had to do with the fact that it's a trans story. But we were able to get it out to the world, and so yeah, I hope people consume it. And, you know, it's been tough, not really seeing advertising for it. And so word of mouth has been our friend. And that's pretty much how we've been getting it out.
So it's really important. So as there's so much Oscar buzz for the film, but Oscar campaigns are expensive. Running ads and trades, very expensive. Launching Oscar campaigns is really expensive. So for everyone out there who is within the sound of our voices, who has been touched by this film, tell people about it. Promote it on your social media, let folks know about it. And for everybody who's an actor in the union, you have permission to do it, right? So you're not, you know, breaking strike by doing so. And there's a little film like this people need to see. And what was so moving for me watching it is that it felt like at the end of the day, it's really about wanting and deeply needing to be seen by the people who are most important. And will they see me? Can they see me? And what are the barriers in place? With Eugenia, your Patricia Clarkson, who plays your mom, she has memory loss and she has a brain tumor, and so she doesn't remember so many things. But does she ever see you? Right? Do our family members ever really fully see us, whether we're trans or not? And there's something that the filmmaking has this intense tension where we feel Monica is so alienated alienated from the people around her when she's on the phone with Jimmy, when she's just, you know, interacting with guys catcalling her, alienated from her family, and and needing to be seen and needing to be held. And there's just these beautiful moments with you and Patricia where I could just start weeping now, where there's these moments of recognition and the deep need that I know I have to be seen by my own mother, that came up for me when I was watching this. And sorry, I just rewatched the movie this morning, so it's like, we all want to need that, and it's just such a and it's not even in words. It's just what I can't even describe it really. You have to experience it cinematically, and then something just shifts inside you. Do you all feel that did you feel that when you watched it?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I mean, it's there were so many beautiful moments, and I feel like this is the type of film, especially considering, you know, I had the great blessing and privilege and honor to see the film in theater, in one of the same theaters that Trace was in Los Angeles, and it was there was so much community there, and it was just a really special experience. Obviously, a little different than people would experience if they just went on their own or streamed it at home. Thankfully, it's streaming right now. And you know, being able to hear the creators and some of the performers speaking in the talkback afterwards was really special. That it was filmed in an aspect ratio that really favors the performer, as opposed to, you know, these days we're used to watching things in widescreen, which is, you know, horizontally on landscape mode. And there's a person in the center. We know when we're taking a picture, we center the person in the middle of the screen, and then we see the land and everything around them, and the scenery and what's happening in the background, which makes for a beautiful picture if you're going to go see another movie that's more about like nature or something like that. But this is really about human connection, and a lot of times it's unspoken human connection, and it's just sometimes it's the look on people's face, or it's something that they're emoting that has nothing to do with the lines or what they're saying. And that was just a beautiful thing to see the emotion and your facial expressions and how you connected with people just non-verbally, which they say is most of human communication is non-verbal, right? And so being able to see that play out on camera is just really beautiful.
Johnny, did you have an experience? Can you talk to us about your experience of seeing the film and the performance and all of those things that are not spoken that tell so much of the story?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that we live in a world, you know, where we're hyper connected on our phones, on our digital devices, where it's like everything is spelled out. Everything has to be explained. So there's something so nostalgic and so special about sitting back in a theater. And I think, especially for trans people, there's a lot in the looks that Monica has, in the, you know, like when she hears something from a family member, that I think trans people can see that and be like, I've had that feeling. I know that look that she just did. I know that inherently. And also on the flip side of that coin, cis people can also see that and also say, I've had that moment. I've had an estrangement from a parent. I've had, you know, and this is why it's so special that this film exists, because we see time and time again stories about family being told. You know, there was a movie that won the Academy Award last year that was about an Asian mother and daughter experience, and that familial bond, and how it's, you know, so this is perfectly what people want and need from art. And I'm, you know, as Trace's friend, I'm just gonna say, like, have been moments where I want to fight people, because when you're in Venice and you see this woman getting an 11.5-minute standing ovation, and listen, I'm her good friend. That's a long time. I was like, okay, we, you know, but knowing that, and then seeing all of these headlines come out about like, oh, you know, this film, this person maybe spit on this one, and to know how special this moment specifically is for not only her, but for so many people. It pissed me off, but I'm so happy with the response that it's gotten from people. And that is a lot of times where these smaller films get hoisted into, you know, iconography, is because of the people. And it's happening at a time where I think is really special, because we have the union disputes, the labor disputes that we're having. The people are really so powerful. So if anyone's watching, I would really beg of you to, you know, not everyone has the resources of, you know, these big studios to push, but honestly, what we're seeing now is that we don't need it. What we need is people, boots on the ground, saying, watch this film, you know, and it's so much bigger than just the film. It's more about getting these stories told over and over and over again. So, yeah.
It's just, it's something you have to see and experience, and people just need to go and watch the film. And I think it's what
Can we tell people where they can watch it? I mean, it's streaming online.
We're not supposed to tell people, but you can just Google and see where it's streaming, and you can rent it,
Right.
or purchase it. We're not supposed to.
Widely available. For anywhere you go, you'll be able to access it, which is good, because for a minute it was only in theaters.
Yes.
And it wasn't as accessible, and now we're really happy that people are able to see it online.
It's streaming everywhere now, and for Academy members, for Motion Picture Academy members, it has been uploaded onto the Academy website. So for anyone who's in the Motion Picture Academy, you can go and watch the film there. And what was beautiful for me about rewatching the film is that it reaffirmed to me what the power of art is, that art can make us think and rethink about what it means to be human. And what it means, so much of that is about connection. It's about how we connect with each other, how we are seen or not seen. Really, really beautiful. I wanted to read something.
Can somebody pin the name of the film in the thing so people can just see it pinned as a comment? I've seen a few people asking.
Say that again, darling.
I can't reach my phone, but if anybody can type the name of the film into the comments and pin it, you know, it's coming up a few, but for the people who are new, it'll just be a pinned comment, and they'll just see it the whole time.
That's a great idea, and I'll try to. Once you do that, I'll pin it. I'll try to pin it.
Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to ask really quickly, or just piggyback a little bit on what Johnny said. Sort of the parallel between the human emotion and the rawness and everything that Trace and the rest of the cast bring to this film and to the screen in this film, juxtaposed to the labor disputes that we're having right now. And for a lot of people know that one of the things that's made the headlines is, you know, the conversation about AI and, you know, how that, you know, fits into the contract. And I think the one thing that the key word that you said, Johnny, is people. I think people are really ultimately interested in authenticity. We know that's how people connect with each other, and that's what we recognize right away when we're watching something is, you know, authenticity in a human being. And, you know, this film brings that, obviously, and I think a lot of independent films, you know, that's sort of higher up on the list, as opposed to like a big CGI budget or like special effects or all these, you know, costumes that are like blinding you with how many diamonds are on there. This is about authenticity. Not saying that Monica does. I mean, there's no CGI, I don't think, in Monica. But that authenticity is what people are craving, and that's what we're fighting for in the labor disputes. And this film offers that. But along with that, it really does take sort of the participation of communities to bring. These are the people that will bring this, help this elevate this. And so I just think that's really interesting that's, you know, juxtaposing the human performance plus the authenticity that people are craving when they're trying to find art and content to watch.
Absolutely. There's a wonderful Los Angeles Times review of the film written by Tracy Brown. And in that review, Tracy Brown writes, Monica is a trans woman, so her story and experiences reflect that. It's implied that her identity at least contributed to her being rejected by her mother as a teenager. But the movie is not solely focused on Monica's identity or others coming to terms with her gender. And as conservative politicians and activists, relentlessly attack the trans community, and more state legislatures move to strip trans people of their rights and their humanity, a film like Monica is both a respite and rebuttal. I love that, because it positions this beautiful, raw human performance that I believe is universal, from you and Patricia Clarkson and your castmates. Everybody just kills it in this film. Patricia, oh my God, how divine. But then this film is coming out in a moment where the humanity of trans people has been really stripped away from us in the conversations that we have with and about trans people. And this film deeply centers the humanity of a trans woman in a way that is so, I mean, you're so raw. And I mean, I know you, we all know you, Trey. So I'm like, you fucking went there. You went all the way there in terms of that thing that one of our acting teachers, Brad Calcater, you unzipped and you just opened up your soul, your heart, everything. And we had that into me see moment that we really want to have with actors on screen. We have a full into me see moment with you in this. And so we see humanity through this performance. Can you talk, anyone, talk about the humanity that we see in this, in Monica and through Tracy's performance, and how our humanity is being stripped away in this legislation and in this cultural moment that is attacking the existence of trans folks?
Yeah, I mean, I do personalize as an actor sometimes, and sometimes I find, I'll talk about my process a little bit. Sometimes I find the bridge to the character, and then I let the imagination take over, or, the scenario of the character take over. But I try to sit in the truth and the rawness as much as I can, and Monica required that. She demanded it. And I think the political climate definitely added to everything I was feeling. Patricia Clarkson, can we talk about Clarkson?
Yes.
You
have
a scene that works from the gut like that, like I do. It just amplified whatever was going on, whatever was already there. That 5-decade career, I mean, working with someone like that, I'm always just like, wow, it's the way I felt about working with Judith Light. It was incredible to just go and explore. And Andrea, our director, he puts the performance first, and so he's an actor's director, and so all of that rawness that you felt was a product of all of those things. So I just feel so grateful that I got to work with Patricia, who's already an Academy Award nominated actress. And she's championed this film. I mean, the thing that's been most moving to me is finding our champions along the way, like Sarah Paulson and all of you, and the people, and the notes I get from all over the world, from trans women and trans people and everybody. I've had people write me who are trans, like I've had adoptees write me and tell me what this movie meant to them because of the reconnection and the finding things later in life, and all of the universal themes that are there. It's just been, I mean, all of that was really just such a gift.
Also, there's a scene specifically that I think it tells a really full story just in the one scene. And Trace and I have talked about this, but the scene, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a scene where where Monica's doing her work, webcamming with her client, and she hears her mother crying from the other room. And what I thought was so important about that scene is that it shows that we as human beings we contain multitudes, and we deal with so much in our worlds. And as we've seen with trans representation from the beginning of time, there's always this judgment behind whether it be sex work or, whatever trans folks need in order to survive. And in this scene, it shows that those same hands that Monica uses to work, she's also caretaking a mother who doesn't know who she is and casts her out. There's so much to digest, and I think it's really important that, especially, you know, the movie gets seen by people that don't understand the trans experience, because it shows the humanity, as you were saying, Laverne, of trans people. When you don't know trans people, you don't understand the humanity, and that's why the scenes like this are so important. And there's just so many little moments like that in Monica, you know, that really show the humanity of not only trans folks, but just all of us. And I think that is how change happens, and that is how legislation changes, is by seeing people for who they are.
And the process really, what for where we for trans people right now, and overall LGBTQ plus community, I believe it needs to be a rehumanizing process. What people who don't want LGBTQ plus folks, the folks who don't want us to exist, they have successfully dehumanized us and are taking away our rights actively in state after state, and those things are being challenged in the courts right now. So the rehumanizing process that can happen through art makes me so grateful, so honored to be an artist. Can we just have a little bit of a kiki moment? Because what was the moment when Monica finds, I don't want to give too much away, but when she meets the guy online and she's getting ready to go to the bar to see the dude, and then she starts and she dances. And she's moving. Her hair is wet. She's gotten out of the shower. She's putting in conditioner, and she's shaking, and she's getting ready to go.
That was a good old drag performance, girl.
And everything away to quote, paraphrase Peaches. Right? I thought about that moment. I was like, okay. I was thinking the Monsters Ball moment, the Halle Berry moment, make me feel good. I was like, Monica needs that Monsters Ball Halle Berry moment. She needs that moment. I'm like, she's going to have that moment. And and then you're in the bar. Spoiler alert. So if you don't, spoiler alert. This Trace is obviously, you're stunningly beautiful, but you're so much more than that. But to see this stunningly beautiful woman, I don't think we've ever seen. I've never seen on camera a woman as beautiful as Trace playing this character being stood up by a man. Right? We never see that. It's so funny because when we see women being stood up at a bar, it's not you. It's just awkward. She's a little. We don't usually see these bombshell women being stood up by men. But how many of our trans girlfriends who are fly AF, who are gorgeous, but because we are trans, we have been sitting at a bar or a coffee shop or a restaurant, stood up by a man. So that for me was like, can we like have a little kiki, a moment, or whatever moment that comes up for you? But I was like, yeah, damn. Do you know what I mean? I just to see the reality of that, you know, that like just because you're gorgeous, just because you are cis assumed often, honey, when you are trans, you're still trans.
It was definitely familiar territory, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, every trans girl, I think, can resonate with that moment. It, you know, being the forbidden fruit. I call it the fall from grace. The way that men approach me, the energy that men approach me with, it's like, wow, dream girl. But then the moment I spill tea, there's this fall from grace that happens 9 times out of 10. And that's a hard truth to sit with time and time again. Dating is hard enough as it is. When you add that bullshit into the mix, it is the mind fuck of all mind fucks, because you know that this man is attracted to you. You know that he's intrigued, but he's too cowardly to follow through because he's worried about whatever everyone thinks, about what society thinks, whatever. And that's exhausting. It's mentally taxing, but yeah, that's actually one of my favorite sequences in the movie, is just to see that in real time, and then the kind of hot mess that happens outside the bar. You know, you see her kind of falling apart, and then the bitch, I'm gonna post some trade, and it, you know, call it a day. And the really powerful thing about that scene, spoiler alert again, is when she goes to let have with the guy in the truck. In Fine. She does not disclose because she's like, well, that's what I get for trying to be truthful. That's what I get for trying to be honest and not omit something with somebody's. I get rejected. So you know what? This man over here in this truck wants to fuck me. Yeah, I'm gonna sit on that dick and I'm gonna get life. And I'm not gonna tell him the tea. And I'm gonna take that dick and I'm gonna go home. And you know, he doesn't have to be any the wiser. And I'd be lying if I said I haven't done that in real life. I have. As a post-op transsexual woman, I had many relations through my 20s, dancing in strip clubs all over New York City. And I know very well how that shift happens and how you are treated when someone knows you are trans and when someone does not know that you are trans. And so that was really, it wasn't spelled out for the audience, but in my head, that's what was going on. And I've seen some journalists break that down. I think that went over cis people's heads, but a lot of the trans journalists I've seen write about it have really went there and they went in.
One of my favorite stories from my life, I met this guy at it was just some random restaurant. I was getting food after work one Saturday night. He was from Israel. And he was beautiful. He was a beautiful man. And he meets me and he's like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Can I have your number? And he's flirting. And he's like, I want to take you to this restaurant. And so he's like, as he's getting my number, he's like, oh, this is an amazing restaurant. And I have to take you out. You're so stunning. You're so beautiful. I'm like, oh, thank you, love. And give him my number, whatever. And then he calls me, and then my strategy often would be to tell them via text or tell them the tea just to make sure. Sometimes they knew, sometimes they didn't know. So I check, and oftentimes what I learned is when they're European, they often didn't know, girl. I would assume, especially when they're from Europe, I learned not to assume. Anyway, that's an offline story. Anyway, so he calls me. This is years ago. He calls me, and I'm like, I'm trans. And at the time, I was like, I'm transsexual, right? Very casual, very no big deal. He was like, what is that? What is that? And I'm like, transsexual, transgender. And he was like, what is that? And I explained. And then so he's like calling me, like, oh, I'm gonna take you to this restaurant. He's like, and the second I tell him, and he understands the tea, he's like, oh, I come over and we just have sex. So it went from, I want to take you out, I want to wine and dine you, you're so beautiful, oh my God, you're so stunning, to let's just have sex.
It's almost comical. I've had the same experience where the guy will be like, oh baby, I'm going to take you to a fancy dinner. Okay, let's fancy dinner. And then you disclose, which I usually don't have a point of disclosure that's past the first or second conversation. And it's usually right up front. It's on my dating profiles and things like that. But it's funny to watch it go from, I'm going to take you to dinner, to, why don't I just come over and I'll bring you dinner, to, I'll make you dinner, to, oh, I'll just come over and have sex with you and then I'll go get dinner later. That's what my Thursday was supposed to be. And I'm getting all dressed up to go to dinner. And then he texts me, I'll just sit at home. Okay, I'll just wait. Maybe we'll just have dinner here. And now I'm all dressed. But then I feel like, well, should I just wait undressed?
Can I say, though, what I want to say, I mean, it's great that we can laugh about it. I think what we should all know, for all the trans folks out there, we don't deserve that BS, that we deserve to be loved in the light, and that we don't have to take that we deserve more than that. And for a lot of the young trans women, I'll talk to the young trans girls specifically, a lot of us, I used to think there's a lot of girls, they get there, they're like, I'm going to get this surgery, I'm going to be passable or cis assumed and gorgeous, and I'm not going to have to experience any of the same stuff that that I experienced before I was more passable. Just get ready. You have to just experience, there's nothing that, it doesn't matter how beautiful you are. It doesn't matter how passable you are. The world, once they find out that you are trans, there are far too many people in the world who, we're all in the same boat. We really are. We're in the same boat as a non-binary person who is immediately clockable walking, 20 blocks away. And so we're really all in the same boat, and we have to live that to experience it. But that doesn't mean that we're not beautiful. It doesn't mean that we're not desirable and lovable. Like, right, we are, and our transness is beautiful and anointed, and we need to know that and stand in that and know that in the core of us. If people can't see that light, if people can't vibrate on that frequency, that is their loss, not ours.
Absolutely.
Johnny, you're nodding as the non-trans person up in this chat. You want to have anything to say about me? So what?
Honey.
I mean, you know how I feel about my girls. Like I just, and I think that that's what's so important about, not only films like Monica, but just knowing trans people is loving trans people. And and that's what I just invite all cis people to do, is to let people in your life, girl, like, stop being so ridiculous and rigid and stupid. And like, I feel like, and I've said this ad nauseum, but because of women like you, I know myself better as a gay cisgender man. You know what I mean? Because you share these experiences, and you build this loving connection. And that's what I loved about Monica's, because you don't know what's going to happen next, but you feel as though this has really started to bridge a new chapter in this family, where Monica, and with the nieces and the nephews, there's also this other story that's happening, where and you see Monica as a caretaker in scenes, and like, there were just so many beautiful moments that I know, because I know trans folks, but that's going to be someone's first time seeing, a maternal trans woman, or an auntie, and it's just so special. And I think I have to go, but I just want to say I'm just so happy that this film exists. I'm happy that you all exist, because you're legends in your own right. And just knowing you all from all these years, it's just really nice to be a part of, and just to be a fan and a supporter and a friend. And so I love you all.
We love you, Johnny. Thank you for joining us impromptu and bringing us all this eloquence. Thank you, darling.
You're amazing, Johnny. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I want to tell everybody about, one thing that's great about Johnny and his support of our sister Trace, which I've been able to see. I think we each have a different connection with Johnny. Johnny is my drag daughter. And so my connection is a little bit different, and I got to know Johnny in a different way. So I'm able to observe the friendship and the connection that you have with Johnny, which I think is obviously beautiful and special. But I really just love it. I saw a comment in the chat here today that said, if they treat cis women badly, then they'll treat you like that too. You basically don't be surprised, which is definitely true. That's 100% true. But I think in particular, one thing that is the layer of disclosure and conversation about who we are and wanting to know, we're talking about authenticity and people being able to see you and meet you and appreciate you for who you really are. And our story as trans people is a part of that, And so when we're telling that in our own experiences, one thing that's really, that the key that is important in that story wasn't just that we have bad dating experiences because we happen to date cisgender heterosexual men, but it really is that they're ready to take us to dinner. They want to treat us lovely and give us roses, which is it's probably because they are assuming that we are cis. It's before we tell them that we're trans. And so, yes, you get treated poorly as any type of femme who's dating in the world of the heteronormative world, but then especially if you are of trans experience, we reveal that, and a lot of times it turns into something that it wasn't beforehand. And I think that probably is true in the world in the professional world as well. Certainly in Hollywood, I think it's something that we have to deal with. There's a hidden, not hidden, but there's a factor that as queer people and as trans people that we have to deal with that no one trains us for. It's not talked about in the manuals. It's not talked about in the mainstream spaces. It's not really addressed. It's not something that anyone ever brought up to me and said, listen, you will be dealing with this. This is what you'll be experiencing, other than my transcestors and my trans, family. That's just like lore that's passed down from girl to girl, from person to person. But, the rest of the world is able to sort of turn an eye away from that,
Yeah, it absolutely shows up in professional. Glad you brought that up. When I think about cis leading ladies who have gone to Venice and gotten 11 and a half standing ovations, and what they come back to in the offers and the scripts that are available to them, I have a single offer for I still haven't really had another leading role come since then. I think I had 3 auditions this whole year, and I know some of my other actor friends who are cis, they go out every week, or they get offers, and that's very real. I'm not getting in the same rooms as other leading ladies who are cis, and I think that's really unfortunate. Again, that's that fall from grace. Even though I have played roles that were not specifically trans, it's getting casting directors, producers, and directors to kind of think of us for more, because we can do more. Like, Laverne, you were in, well, I can't say the movie, but you played barista in a movie, and it was not specifically, I don't believe it was specifically trans, was it? It was just like,
No, I've had the opportunity to work with great directors and on great shows, and films that were characters that weren't written as trans, and like do they become trans? I mean, I played a real life character who definitely wasn't trans, so
right.
that is amazing and wonderful. And for me, what it should always be about is, are you right for the character? Can you realistically portray this? And it shouldn't be about like the gender we were assigned at birth. It should be about the talent and what we can bring. And it is really interesting that, acting is hard for everybody. I think every actor, whether you're trans or not trans, we experience like that anxiety of, will we work again? That I think all of us experience that, but it's a different story when you're trans, and all of us are working actors. All of us have, Peppermint, is a historic figure. She was first trans person to originate a role on Broadway. She's a series that we can't talk about now. We're all have been in award-winning projects, and our dance cards, we're all hustlers and we figure it out, but it's a different situation for us as trans actors. And I'm not one to complain, because I am so grateful and so blessed. I feel grateful just to have a roof over my head and have health insurance and have all the opportunities I have. But it's just not, I would be lying if I said, with the resume that I have the same opportunities as like some of my colleagues. It's just not the case.
I want to speak on that, and that's already in place. That's something that you, as a trans person, and all of us as trans people, are dealing with. That's sort of our own. It's our collective experience that we can commiserate on and identify with. But that's something that you, as an actor in the world, are prepared to deal with and do what you need to do whatever you got to do. On top of that is all the other stuff. And this really, I kind of said this in a different way earlier, but I'm going to say it again this way because I think it's worthy of being heard by the people that are in the chat. That we're having this labor union with this labor dispute that we're in right now, and I'm assuming that there's a lot of people in the chat who are not actors and who are not a part of the union and really involved in the details and the nitty gritty of what's going on. We were able to see over the past 10 years, and certainly over the past few years, several years, I'll say, progress when it comes to LGBTQ stories being told, creators telling those stories, actors, people on film and stage. although we did see a little bit of a decline, according to GLAAD, in film, like motion pictures, in terms of transgender roles and queer characters in general, and from 2021 to 2022, overall there has been more progress, especially compared to 2022 to 2023, just in general. And we know that there's been a pushback in terms of companies and corporations who were, so famously suddenly are allies to the queer community in June, but then suddenly stepping back every July 1st. We knew that was happening, but it felt different this year. And what I'm worried about, or what I hope will not happen, is corporations and studios, which are also corporations, who probably care about the same thing that all those other corporations care about when it comes to allyship, deciding to allow diverse stories about people who are in marginalized communities, and trans stories and queer stories fall by the wayside, and when we come out on the other side of this strike. And I know that we will. I'm sure that they will negotiate terms that are, acceptable for all the parties involved. But in light of these major studios maybe not choosing to have their first film that they do when they come out of the strike being something that tells diverse stories or stories about people in marginalized communities, I think it's all the more important that we rely on our communities, the people around us, and the people that are listening in this live to help us float the stories that you want to see. If you connect with these types of diverse stories, and we already know, according to a lot of research that we've seen from GLAAD, it does pay off for studios to be more diverse and for more diverse stories to be told and to tell stories about transgender people and so on. And so even though that message has been sent to a lot of the creators and studios and platforms that are have been engaging in this content in the past, they're not necessarily showing an initiative that this is what is important to them when they come out on the other side of this. And so I think it's really important that we put even more energy into supporting films like mine.
Yeah. We should be wrapping up soon, but I want to echo that like right now, this, I think it's important to remind people that over 500 pieces of anti-LGBTQ plus legislation has been introduced in state legislatures this year alone. Over 500 pieces of legislation targeting our ability as LGBTQ people to access gender-affirming care, play on sports teams, go in the bathrooms that correspond to our gender identity, dress and drag. 20 states right now ban gender-affirming care for young people, 2 states for adults. Those laws are being challenged in the courts right now. And there is a decided decline in corporations doing pride-related events this past June. A market decline in previous years. We all experienced it. I've talked to my agency, and there's just a lot of corporations got really scared because a lot of anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ plus folks are doing stochastic terrorism, threatening people, scaring people, and people are scared. So for those people who say they are allies of LGBTQ plus people, now is the time more than ever to stand 10 toes down in that. We need you now more than ever. It was easier when they weren't, sending in bomb threats to children's hospitals and sending Proud Boys with AK-47s and rifles to drag shows and to libraries. It was easier when they weren't doing that. Now that they're doing that, the people who say that they are allies of ours need to be standing with us, with money, with support. Watching a film is the least you can do. Watching Monica is the least you can do. But then Trace has a campaign where she needs to, she's trying to raise money to have a publicist. We need your money. We need your support. We need your love. We need you saying even more strongly now that you stand with us. And this is connected to reproductive rights. It's connected to fights against anti-Semitism, racial equality. Is all connected. The same people, the same white supremacists who are shooting up grocery stores and Dollar Generals and churches are the same white supremacists who are showing up at libraries for drag queen story hour and are sending in bomb threats to children's hospitals. Same people. So we have to be in this together. Allyship across all the, none of us can get pregnant, none of us can have children, but I am a strong ally for reproductive rights, and I've stood for years, and we have to stand together right now more than ever. Trace, I'm sure you have something to say to that, and we should be wrapping up soon.
Yeah. You know, when we're divided, that is the work of the oppressor. That's what they want. They want us to separate. The strength in numbers. What I'll say, wrapping up, is please shout this film from the rooftops, with whatever means you have. I guess the thing that is giving me the most anxiety lately is again that duality of getting all this love and all this awards buzz, and then still not getting an answer from IFC or whoever, whether or not we're even going to get the funds to do an awards campaign. And I know they're still assessing the situation. I get it. Nobody wants to spend money if it's going to be wasted. I completely understand. But I think the deciding factor is a lot of weight gets put on these prediction lists, which is, interesting to me, and a little bit wild, because sometimes, it's about how big the film is and how many ads, and it's not always performance based. And listen, art is subjective anyways. So I think that's what's on my mind lately is, will we get a shot? Will we get in the game? Will we get in the conversation? Are we? And so yeah, I would say tell a friend, please get people to watch this film. It's so important beyond me. It's for the whole community. We need our little film that could to kind of bust open some doors for us so that me and my girls can go make more stories like this, go make stories that are centered around our joy for a change. It's just so much bigger. So I'll leave you with that.
Yeah, thank you for that, Trace. It is just for actors out there, and if you're anybody who's an actor, who's studied, who knows what it takes to deliver a brilliant performance, I know will resonate with the work that you do in this film, Trace. As an actor who's very serious about the work of being an actor and the craft of being an actor, what you deliver is just incredible. And I think people would be doing themselves a disservice if they don't at least see the film. And I believe if people see this film, they're going to resonate with it, and all the awards buzz that should be happening will happen. I just think people need to watch the film. So watch Monica. Yes, Peppermint?
Watch the film, and if you can't watch the film, share about the film and tell other people to watch it. And when you do watch the film, whichever way you're watching it, if you're probably streaming it by now, then use that service and make sure you click like on the film, that you use the film's rating system within the app or the thing that you're using. Click like, click share, engage with the film beyond just watching it. That's really important, and it is part of the aggregate information that they use to rate the performance of the film. And then if you have an extra time, go on over to watch the credits and go on over to the people who are involved and scroll on over to their social media and let them know how much you enjoyed this film. IFC is one place you can go and let them know how much you enjoyed this film, and tag them and make sure that they see it.
Absolutely. And monicamovie.com is pinned in the comments. monicamovie.com. If you go to that website, you can see where you can click, when you go to the website, you can click watch at home and see everywhere you can stream Monica. So please go and do that. And we have never had an openly trans person nominated for an acting Academy Award. We've had trans people nominated in music, directing once, a handful of trans people in the almost 100 years of the Academy Awards. It's about time. It's overdue, and for me, this is a performance that it would be a wonderful way to make some Academy Award history with this film, this beautifully shot film, this beautifully told story with this just raw, incredible performance by Trace Lysette. So let's make some history. MonicaMovie.com. I love you all. I love you, girls.
Thank you, girls, my bitches, my girls. I love you so much. Oh my God. Go into how we met and all that tea. I thought we were gonna go down memory lane, but
That's a different live. That's a different live, and that's a different. Maybe we should start doing more of these where we just can get together and kiki.
Absolutely, yeah.
And give them a glimpse into what happens when the coterie gets together. Just a glimpse. We can't do all of it.
Just a glimpse. No full tea.
I love y'all.
I love you.
I love you, ladies, so much.
Congratulations, Trace. I'm so proud of you. You bitch, you did the damn thing, and you should be so proud. You should be so proud.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Watch Monica. Stay in the love.
Bye.